I always assumed that for those who were creative were people like artists, people who drew paintings or crafted sculptures, built things, carved something out of wood, musicians, people that could play a musical instrument really, really well. And that was kind of my limitations understanding of what it meant to be creative and what creativity was. But then I recently read Austin Kleon's book, Steal Like an Artist, and it kind of really changed my mind and helped me to think deeper on what it truly means to be creative and also the method of how to be creative. I always thought that to be creative, you had to have this brand new idea that no one else has ever thought of. But then again, I read his book, which has actually been on my reading list for quite some time. That's the book, Steal Like an Artist. I've literally only just read it, but it's been on my reading list for a number of years. And the reason that I've not got around to reading it is because my reading list is just ridiculously too long. But I can't believe I've waited this long to read it because it really is an inspiring book. It's an informative book, and it's really challenged my perception of what it means to be creative, and it's helped me to look at it in a much deeper way. I've also got two of his other books as part of that collection, and I've already started reading one of them. I binged that book in a weekend off work, so it gives you an idea of how captivating it is. But it just really started to challenge me on what it means to be creative. And I started to think deep about how I was creative in my life. So, for example, I find interior design quite interesting. I'm not really any good at it, but as he points out in the book, you don't need to be amazing at it. You just need to start doing what your passion is. And I just quite like looking at different interior design ideas, seeing how different people from different cultures with different philosophies approach interior design, how they decorate their houses. I just think to myself, oh, how could we decorate our house using some of their ideas and taking them as our own. And effectively, that's stealing like an artist. But I never really thought of it as in that regard. Never thought of that as really being creative. And I don't know why, because it really is. It's not just a case of just of all those ideas like like as I said, music and art, but it comes down to actually just creating something. I quite enjoy coding. I'm not really any good at HTML and CSS. I enjoy it. I can write code. Doesn't always work, but I can do it. But that's the beauty of being creative, that idea of just making a start on something and just enjoying it and recording it and reporting it and telling people about it and sharing what you're doing. So again, I'm not great at it. I'm an amateur, definitely. I'm probably not going to be building a website using my code anytime soon. But the point is, I enjoy it. It's a creative outlet of mine, and that's a positive. But that's just my personal hobbies and interests, for example. To give you another example, is I then looked even deeper as the book talks about being innovative and innovation. And then you start to realize that actually the people who invented the MacBooks, the tablets, the iPhone, they themselves were being creative. They call it innovation, but they were being creative. And that creativity gave us some amazing leaps in technology. And it's just amazing to realize that all the things I take for granted. I say took for granted. I still take things for granted. I don't even realize it. But those things were actually came about because somebody had a creative mindset. They were willing to take risks. They were willing to make mistakes. They were willing to get it wrong. And it also meant that being creative means you've got to throw away the perfection tendency, which is a big obstacle that I need to kind of get over. So, for example, Apple released the first iPhone. It was revolutionary. It was innovative. It required a huge amount of creativity. Everyone was convinced that the keyboard on the bottom of your phone was here to stay. Well, Apple went completely against that. They innovated and they created something far better. Now everyone goes keyboard at the end of your phone. What you want about? We want a bigger screen. Well, give thanks to Steve Jobs, Steve Wozniak for that sort of creative thinking. But the thing is, they released the first iPhone and it wasn't perfect. Do you know how we know it wasn't perfect? Because the iPhone 1, and we're now at what? The iPhone 16? So clearly the first one was not perfect. They kept building on it. I am glad that they did not wait for the perfect idea to come around for the perfect iPhone that didn't need a new model or a new update. And again, that was something that resonated with me in the book. This idea of being creative means that you're going to make mistakes, you're going to get it wrong. It's not always going to be perfect. And sometimes you just got to throw the rough, hard draft out. And that's what I'm doing with this little series of videos, where it's just 10 videos, rough, unedited, just straight off the cuff. And again, it's hard for me because perfectionist tendencies. But again, I just need to get comfortable in front of the camera, get comfortable talking, learn to slow down a little bit because I am quite a fast speaker. That's something that I do need to work on. But it really did challenge me in that regard as well, to push myself out of my comfort zone and just accept it's not going to be perfect. You know what? Some of these videos might suck in this series of 10 videos off the cuff that I just rough. I'm going to guarantee that a good chunk of them are going to suck. But again, that's what it means to be creative. It's putting out things that are just not quite right. They're just not there, and just growing and developing. So reading the book was a really big help. I definitely would recommend reading the book as well. And yeah, check it out. I can't believe I waited this long to finally read it. I'm enjoying the other books in the series. They're just as great, just as phenomenal. But yeah, no, if you're someone who struggles with creativity, you don't think that you're creative, or perhaps like me, you've limited your understanding of what it means to be creative to simply being, well, it's for those artists, it's for those singers, those who are musical. It's not. You can be creative in so many different ways. And it was just amazing to read the book and realize that I am actually more creative than what I thought. Video editing, that requires creativity. Being creative requires you to think outside the box, to go against the trend. At times it means to buck society's norms. It means to be a bit of a radical and a nonconformist, to be someone who's willing to try something a little bit different and take a risk, take a gamble. That's what it means to be creative. And the more I think about it, the more I've sat back and realized that actually, yeah, I'm more creative than what I thought. Even right down to philosophy. You think philosophy is not creative? Well, yet it is, because part of being creative is to ask good questions. It's to go deeper. It's to go beyond the surface level understanding of things. Socrates, by definition, would have been creative because he refused to ask. He refused to accept the status quo. Say, there's the mess up right there. That's not getting entered out. But Socrates himself, he would always ask questions to get a deeper understanding, to grow his own understanding. And that's being creative. It's asking those good questions, those deep questions that get you thinking about what you really believe and why you really believe what you believe. Creativity is just so interwoven in our society. And as a Christian, I believe that God is creator himself. Therefore, if we're an image bearer of him, then we're going to be creative as well. It's built into our DNA. It's part of what it means to be human. It is to be creative. So I've also been doing a marketing course as well, because I'm looking to start a business. And in this marketing course that I'm doing, it's specifically social media marketing. And it's just blown me away much how much of a creative mindset it requires to do it. It's really hard. And even using AI, I still struggle with what I've learned so far. I'm like 20 videos in, and I'm only just covering the surface with things like copywriting, or scratching the surface with, writing clever slogans, or which platform is best for what. And all of this goes into it. I was just trying to write a clever copyright then for an AI generated image of a cheeseburger, because that was part of the assignment. And it was hard, even with me sneakily using a bit of AI to kind of give me some prompts and ideas. It was still a struggle. It does take a huge sense of creativity to do that sort of thing. And okay, I'm not expecting it to be great now because I'm learning, but the point is, we are naturally creative beings, and therefore it shouldn't surprise us that creativity is all around us. It shouldn't surprise me, but there you go. It just goes to show how a book can have a huge impact on you and can really transform the way you think, not just in general, but on a specific topic. So yeah, I've learned a lot in a weekend about what it means to be creative, and to realize that, yeah, I do need to work on being more creative and exploring my creativity and building on my creative skills that I have, and my passions and my interests. And yeah, I just wanted to talk about that in this video. That was my little takeaway from the weekend. So if you haven't read the book Steal Like an Artist, I genuinely will recommend that you give it a good read. It's really not that hard to read. It's a thin, short book. A lot of it's pictures as well, and it's just quite inspiring. So check out the book and get creative.